Welcome to Securing America with me, Frank Gaffney, the program that's a kind of owner's manual for protecting the country we love against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to God's glory and that of his kingdom. I am thrilled to have with us a friend and colleague of many years. His name is Todd Bensman. He is one of our country's preeminent authorities on, well, the invasion that is taking place in the southern border of the United States and has now been for the duration of this presidency. It is reaching epic proportions, and we're going to talk with Todd about why that is and what its implications will be for all of us, not just in the so called border states, but every state in the union, because we're all border states now. Todd Bensman is the National Security Fellow of an indispensable organization, the Center for Immigration Studies. He is also the author of a superb book, America's Secret Border War. He writes prolifically and contributes mightily to this public policy debate about one of the most important national security and homeland security issues we face. Todd Bensman, it's great to have you back at Securing America. Thank you for taking the time, sir.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Well, give us a little bit of level setting on what the border looks like at the moment, Todd, the magnitude of this invasion, just maybe a snapshot from last month's statistics.
Well, again, we're in the ionosphere on apprehension numbers. 158,000 apprehensions at the southern border in the month of February. That's a little bit higher than what we had in January, but it's all in the ionosphere, places that we have never been in United States history. Altogether, we're looking at about 2.4 million in the last 12-month period. This is not including gotaways, which is probably another 400,000 or 500,000. So the numbers are just like we've never been here before, and that
And
continues.
that
We are still,
four to
yeah.
500,000 number is obviously a ballpark on those who have managed to elude the border patrol and are, heavens knows, here for what purpose. But the sheer volume of this, some 3 million people, I guess, in the past year, would be truly on the scale of an invasion. Our friend Steve Bannon likes to talk about D-Day involving something on the order of 150,000 troops. For heaven's sakes, I mean, this is staggering in terms of the numbers. And I'm always minded to ask, of that number, Todd, how many would you expect are military made military age men, for want of a better term, and unaccompanied at that?
Well, again, that's really a tough one to talk about because of the gotaway numbers. The Title 42 pandemic pushback rule from the Trump era targets mostly adult males. So we do have a good sense that very significant numbers in the probably a good half a million, million point three or four were going to be men or singles. You could say they were singles. I don't actually know how many were men versus women, but a lot of those get away because we ended deportation in the interior. So the whole goal for those people to not get pushed back into Mexico is to get past the 100-mile mark at the border. Beyond that, Border Patrol feels like it has no jurisdiction, and then it becomes a matter of ICE. And ICE is stood down right now. There is no interior deportation. So those military-aged men and women or whatever are, getting away into the
Yeah.
interior, and we
I
don't
want to
know.
drill down a couple of different things that you talked about there, Todd. Title 42 may not be a term that everybody's familiar with. And more to the point, it seems to be going away. What is it, and why does that matter in terms of what we're experiencing here?
So for those who follow the border emergency or crisis or invasion, Title 42 is very important. It's very significant. It's going to matter for the next phase of this emergency. Uh, Title 42 is an authority that's not granted by the Immigration and Naturalization Act. It's granted by regular U.S. code for presidents who are trying to control a pandemic, which Donald Trump invoked in March of 2020. This required that Border Patrol pushes back 100% of everybody that they catch crossing into the border with no opportunity for an asylum claim. So Biden came in and he kept that, except he caused the border crisis primarily by exempting wide swaths of wide categories of migrants. Unaccompanied minors and family units were allowed to be exempted from that, and those are the ones that are making up the vast mass migration crisis. But the majority of people coming across the border were in totality were being pushed back under Title 42, probably 2/3. Just 1/3 is the one that made up the crisis that we're seeing. As early as April 1, coming right up, the Biden administration can suspend Title 42 for all the rest. That is the thing to watch for next. When he, and I say when, not if, because Title 42 was never intended to be permanent, even by Trump. This thing had to go away at some point. But the Biden administration has been clinging to this really secretly, pleased that they at least have that, because they were able to push back so many. But when that goes away as early as April 1, then we are going to see something of a magnitude that you have not seen before in this country. Even the administration is predicting 170,000 more in the initial wave. And they're preparing right now. They're bringing in planes, jets, buses. They're putting volunteer lists for calling for federal workers from all over the country to be prepared to come down to deal with what's going to happen when they do away with Title 42.
And that brings me to the next point, Todd. What are those planes and trains and automobiles or buses for? Is it to take those
Well,
people and send them home?
well, none of right. Well, I don't think that it's to send people home. I think that those are going to be to manage for example, Texas will be overwhelmed completely. All the detention facilities, whatever we've got in place here, will be immediately overwhelmed. So the jets are going to be taking migrants to other, like California and Arizona, and maybe in the interior facilities that are empty, so that they have a place to put them for a while. But I believe that probably all of them are going to claim asylum, for which all of them are ineligible. Most likely, it's just it's a scheme to get into the country, as you know. And so I think that we are probably going to be so swamped. I hope I'm wrong, but I've been down there too much to know better. But I think that all of our facilities and everything that we've got in place is going to be so swamped that they're probably just going to have to just wholesale just let them
But
go,
then
wave them through.
it's not just a question of letting them go in, say, Texas. It's a question of then using these various means of transportation to move them all over the United States, no?
Well, that's true. We saw that in the beginning. They were just being, put on buses to all four corners. So they still are. That's
Hold the
happening
thought,
even
Todd,
now.
because we're going to come back with more on what that means for the communities impacted, of course, and what it means for the homeland security of the United States. Something that I think is clearly great peril for all of us. We're going to hear more about it right after this.